Hello, I am Jason Sedita.
And I'm Carm Gaffredo.
And together, we are the founders and co-hosts of the NOFC podcast.
Our podcast focuses on first responder life and the issues affecting first responders, both active and retired.
We are both retired from the New York State Police, having worked two completely different backgrounds, one in uniform and the other as an investigator. Together we hope to inform and entertain you all. Welcome to the NOFC podcast, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 25. And I have to look at the phone. We just went over this. The world kind of sucks right now. That's what the name of the podcast is going to be. You can guess where this is going to go. The world kind of sucks right now. That is for sure. We are man. It's been a while. Good thing for the viewers and the listeners, we don't edit or do retakes, so it is what it is. We are Jay and Carm of the ridiculously goddamn cool NOFC podcast. Welcome, everybody. Welcome for your entertainment.
Is it raining where you are right now or no?
It's raining, men.
It's raining, men.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is raining. It's raining, a little bit of a crappy service day.
Is it raining men like that? Is that what you're talking about?
For the viewers that don't know, get on and view this episode at 1 minute and 10 seconds, and you'll have some viewing pleasures of me entertaining Carm when we first got on, shirtless, doing a little naked dance there. Not naked, but topless, if you will. So Carm immediately laughed uncontrollably because I think he needed that right now in his life. So that was for you.
Thank you.
To process life at a non-serious moment for once, maybe, you know?
He gets on the camera for those behind on the other side of this whole thing. He turns the camera on, and that's the first thing I see, which immediately made me laugh so hard that I actually cried.
Yes,
so I had to snap a picture in the truest form of Jay Sedita, who catches people at the most inopportune times and takes photos of them so that he could use it as leverage later or friendly blackmail. Yeah, friendly blackmail.
Yeah, that's my MO. I am sneaky.
Yeah, so it's raining here today in glorious Catskill, New York. We haven't had rain in a long time, so it's kind of nice, but it's weird. It's adding to the gray, dismal lighting. It's actually very bright in this big room that I'm in, but it comes across as though it's pretty dark in here.
Yeah.
So back to the title.
Yeah.
Why is this episode called "The World Kind of Sucks Right Now"? Let's get to it.
Well, I mean, you can pretty much open a newspaper. I don't know. Probably nobody reads the newspaper anymore. Open social media. Turn on the news. Take a walk out in a public store, and you'll see it and hear it almost every day. Whether you're talking about this is where we're going to get into. At the heart of it is the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and that's the basis of this. But it trickles down to also political alignments. It trickles down to everything in this country right now and how we are remarkably divided on the simplest of things. And where did we go wrong for it to be so divided and so passionate that no one can think outside their political box and have an open mind as to what's going on in this world right now. So yeah, that's where we're going to go. So enjoy, ladies and gentlemen.
So, also to add to this too, you know, I think we're going to take this unfortunately horrible topic and we're going to add like a reconciliation to it, conciliatory insofar as we're not going to try to make it worse. We're not going to try to take a side or be a certain political stance. The discussion is political by the very nature, unfortunately. But when you break this whole thing down to bare bones, it's a horrible thing that happened to a person, regardless of how you want to spin it. And this kind of ties into first responder wellness as well, because our previous topics have talked about how, for somebody in first responder work, all this division and fear and violence turns into something that first responders have to deal with first and foremost. And that's why we wanted to talk about it, right? Like, so the people that day when Charlie Kirk got murdered, the first responders on the scene and the people who were witness to it, first aid, police, were there, and they saw a very, very, very traumatic event. And we in first response work, well, the people who still work in first response work, they deal with that trauma, and that trauma cycles down to the very basis of who they are. And all they deal with is negativity. And then they go to politically charged work environment where there's a war being waged against the police by the corporate media and certain political interests. The purpose of this podcast is to discuss a very sad issue, but also to bring light to it and to try to talk about it on both sides, not to further divide our viewers, just to
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to piggyback off of your statement on how the first responders had to deal with such a horrific incident, so did thousands upon thousands of regular citizens and children that were there during this event. Can you imagine being in the first few rows and seeing that happen live? I can't imagine the amount of trauma that those as well are dealing with. And then fast forward, not sure what you saw or didn't see in regards to that event again, and not getting, this has nothing to do with aligning with any one side. And I'm going to try not to say that redundantly throughout the podcast, but the simple fact of, as they were clearing everybody out of there the best they could in an organized fashion, which me and you both know that was probably one of the most daunting tasks that they probably could have done that day, is get everybody out of there without being trampled. But anyway, that's what they were trying to do. And somebody happened to be videotaping where Charlie and his team were, let's just say, and the tables were set up. And there was certain individuals that hopped the fence to go over and grab merchandise and throw it into the crowd for free, so that no one had to pay for it. And I saw, it was either a security guard or a police officer. I believe it was a police officer. He just said something to the effect of, "Are you fucking serious right now? Get the fuck out of here." And he just grabbed the guy and tried to escort him out. Just, that is where we're at in this world. Not only that, but I know you wanted to discuss Jimmy Kimmel again. I'll get into Jimmy
we'll
Kimmel,
get into
but
that
like
later. Yeah.
there's that aspect of it, how we value celebrities' opinions just because they're on this platform. But please go ahead with your opinion on that.
So just to get back to the incident itself, and if you've been living under a rock for the past couple of weeks, political activist, conservative political activist Charlie Kirk was murdered by an assassin who's very politically to the left, by all appearances, from what we've learned preliminarily of this investigation. And, I think it's important to mention that this kid that did this is accused of the crime. He's not found guilty. In this country, there's no such thing as due process anymore. We're not innocent until proven guilty. With the media war, we're guilty until proven innocent. Unfortunately, there's no due process. So that being said, he's accused of this horrible crime. There are other people who believe that there's some sort of, that this whole thing's a ruse, and that there's another shooter, and that this kid's a patsy. I'm not going to get into that. What I'm going to get into is, as a first responder, for those who've never responded to something like that, to a mass casualty incident, not a mass casualty incident, but an incident where there's a casualty in a large group of people. I go back to a story in 2005. I responded to the Hudson Valley Mall shooting. Myself, Trooper Lori Thiel, every cop in Ulster County and Greene County basically filtered to the Ulster County Mall during a January cold day when the mall got shot up by a guy at the time. And for people who don't know what it's like to respond to these types of incidents, from a police perspective, from fire perspective, you go there to put a fire out to stabilize a building. From EMS perspective, you go there to treat patients, to stabilize them, to get them further medical treatment. The police, when they go to a scene like this, in the case of Charlie Kirk, you get called to something like that. From my experience, you go there and you have the daunting task of stabilizing a scene, making sure that people who witnessed it are separated, and interviewed by police and either deposed or recorded for interview, depending on where you are. There's the triage component of it. If there's injuries, to save people's lives, to triage them with the EMS people, to track where they're going to hospitals. A police response to that comes down to a command post under incident command protocols to try to stabilize the scene, to do 1,000 different things to make sure that an investigation is being conducted the right way. The police all respond. Somebody decides who's going to be in control of that scene and to investigate it properly. In this case, it turned into the FBI. But that type of scene is sheer and utter fucking chaos. People have no idea. At Hudson Valley Mall, I remember running into the mall as people were running out screaming, right? And when you go into that dynamic environment and you're there left to kind of stabilize, neutralize any threats that are coming at you, stabilize the people who are injured, and preserve the scene so that the forensic investigators can do their thing as well, is a daunting task. Setting aside a family area where people who are going to respond, family who may know that somebody there is either dead or injured, a media area where you have to set up for media to congregate so that they're away from the immediate crime scene. It is an incredibly comprehensive process that most people have no idea about.
Well, yeah. Well, let's take a huge variable and add that into the pile here, Carm, because we'll talk about Charlie Kirk and also you. So you're running into this mall, and how do you know? I'm sure they give you some kind of description. I don't know particular for I forget how that all boiled down, but like you're still as a first responder running into this building as people are running out, and you have to be concerned with, all right, where's the suspect? Are these people that are running out either one of the suspects or part of the suspect? So there is that whole different dynamic where your head has to be on a swivel.
Yeah.
So now flip that coin over to the Charlie Kirk incident. Law enforcement's role there, obviously. Where's the suspect? Are there more suspects? Is this something where they're going to light up this whole crowd? That's obviously within that first 5 or 10 minutes. And then they have to do all the additional stuff that you said. So there's so much different dynamic moving parts to a law enforcement first responder when they get to these scenes. It's so potentially traumatic. Absolutely.
The trauma part of that too is you're trained because you have so much to remember and so much to do in terms of tasks to accomplish for the strategic mission of stabilizing that scene. You tend to back channel all of the traumatic shit and store it so that you can concentrate. The people running out, you're scanning their hands, you're scanning their bodies for bulges, you're looking for any threats. In Hudson Valley Mall, I had a 9mm pistol at the time before we switched back over to 45s way back when. And running through the mall with a 9mm pistol only, because that's all I had in my troop car at the time, I felt very naked. And there were sheriff's deputies and people around me who had AR-15 type
heavier equipment,
tactical rifles. But you're running through and you're looking at every different thing and making immediate split-second decisions, determining threat, not threat, threat, not threat, and also trying to take in the big picture. Is there more than one shooter? And the reports at my thing were shots fired at the Hudson Valley Mall. And from there, it just turned into sheer chaos. In this instance, first responders didn't know if there were multiple shooters. They don't know if there's multiple threats. They don't know if it's a terrorism attack, domestic terrorism attack, or fueled by fundamentalist Muslims or whatever the case may be. So in this particular situation, I just want to bring light to the fact that we're bringing this discussion up because not only it's timely, but also because of the trauma. The people who went there to treat that guy when he was murdered. And by the way, you and I we talked about that video. We talked about it in a group chat with other former coworkers. When you see him shot and you see that arterial bleed coming out of his neck, everybody's like, "Oh, praying for Charlie Kirk. Oh, we hope he's okay." You and I looked at that immediately. We were like, "Yeah, there's no way he's surviving that. There's no way he's surviving that." You don't lose that much blood that fast, where blood is spurting out, that you can survive something like that. So it's important to say, regardless of political views, thoughts and prayers are with his wife and children.
Yes,
for a horrible
definitely.
thing. And for his family, his family and his friends and for a nation, I think it's a horrible travesty of justice that based on his uh, his beliefs that he was assassinated and um, stoking more of the division in this country.
Yeah, and it's just it's so unfortunate because I there's been a lot of reference, um, and there'll be people that don't agree with this. Maybe not. But with like with the George Floyd incident a few years prior, you know, let's just say that for me, I'm not speaking for Carm. This is Jason speaking. This is how Jason feels. But for me, Eric, what was his name? Eric, the police officer that was charged in his murder.
Oh,
I forget what his name
Chauvin,
is.
Derek
Thank you,
Chauvin,
Chauvin. Yeah,
Derek
Derek,
Chauvin.
not Eric.
Yeah,
Um, I did not agree with how he, without knowing that, let's just say this, without knowing 100% of the details of that day, from what I saw, I did not agree with how he handled that situation. I do understand that it's been determined that that's not what killed the guy.
yeah,
I get that. With that being said, that doesn't change my opinion on how I felt that he handled that situation. I felt like he shouldn't have done that. I felt it was uh, a horrible thing to have happened. Um, I don't think that George Floyd should have died, but he did, and that's unfortunate. And my thoughts and prayers are anybody who's. I know he wasn't the utmost up, upheld citizen, and I know he was a five-time felon or whatever it was, and that sucks. But this is more so for the after effect of that, the riots, and for me, that's when this country pivoted
absolutely.
drastically was during that particular event, and
And that's why it's
um,
important to the discussion that you're bringing up too, because that's
it
another
is.
pivotal
I
event that
want
divided the
yes, and
nation.
that's exactly why I'm bringing it up. It's because it was such a pivotal point in time, and now we have this incident that's happened with Charlie Kirk, and without trying to get overly political, it's like look how we responded to that as a society for the people that supported him, right? What did they do all over the country? They held vigils for him and they held prayer services. Like no one went out and rioted and killed and looted and stole. Like that's not what happened. And then on the flip side, for these people that so did you see anybody when George Floyd was when he passed away, did you see anybody go out and social media, celebrities, or anybody say publicly that they approve of him being murdered? They approve based on him being a five-time felon? Maybe they did. So if that's the case, I stand corrected. But from what I understand, that didn't happen. That no one went out and shunned George Floyd for being a five-time felon or however many it was. And the fact that he's been arrested numerous times for drugs possession, I did some violent crimes as well.
Yeah, there was some
That
domestic
didn't happen.
violence. There was a
Yeah,
robbery. He robbed a woman,
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. Sure, yeah.
that didn't
But
happen.
regardless of the criminal history, and I agree with you, he didn't.
Yeah,
Nobody deserves that, and there's change that's needed. Were the police a fan of George Floyd? No, but half the time when you're working in the police capacity, you're dealing with people who are really, really bad people who you despise entirely, especially like the child abuse crimes. When I worked in that area for a while, what I wished you could happen to these people and what we did legally were very different. And that's the comparison I'm making is George Floyd, did he deserve to die in that manner? No, but he didn't. It's like you said, the cause of death, there were two different conflicting causes of death in that particular instance. And I know we're going down the rabbit hole on this, but there were two different conflicting causes of death. And that was like the first time I've ever seen a conviction with two different medical examiners who had two different conflicting causes of death that led to a conviction. So it's a very contested subject. I don't agree with how he was treated, but I think there's a lot more to that story. But once we form a narrative in the news, and that's the parable in this whole conversation with current events, once we form an opinion and once the corporate media machine goes forward with that opinion, there's no way to get away from it. And it creates a further divide. George Floyd created a giant divide in this country. The conviction, when O.J. Simpson went to trial and he was found not guilty, giant divide in the society, right? In 1994, many people don't even remember that because we're old. But Charlie Kirk being murdered, giant divide in the people in this country. And We are so divided as a nation, so
Yeah.
divided, and there's so much
Yeah.
hate. Um, I don't understand how we've gotten to this point where you can't have a civilized conversation with people. Everything's either you agree 100% with the left or you agree 100% with the right, and anywhere in between, you're vilified by the extreme left and the extreme right. Like you can't have an opinion that's somewhere in the middle without being chastised.
Yep. And
What are your
even if you
thoughts?
do, yeah, well, I have plenty of them. Even if you do have varying thoughts, I feel that many of us are so aligned with a certain thought process that they don't dare deviate from that because of the potential repercussions of that said opinion that might not be in that box. Open up your Facebook, or I know me and you, maybe because we're a little bit older, we gravitate towards Facebook, but I'm sure it's on. I have Instagram and TikTok and all the other platforms too. But open up your Facebook, and I think we have 100 and something mutual friends, somewhere around 150 mutual friends. So I'm sure you know of the people that we're talking to or about that. When you open up, or if you click on their profile and you scroll through, whether it's a right or whether it's a left, that's the only thing that they feel value in sharing is their opinion politically on how bad the Democrats are or how bad the Republicans are and how much they hate Biden or Hunter Biden or Kamala Harris or how much they hate President Trump and his orange self. And there were so many comments saying, we wish it would be Trump. We wish that would have been Trump. It should have been him. He's next on the chopping block. And how is that? Like, what is President Trump? And then going back, what did President Biden do for anybody to say, yeah, I want him dead?
Right.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Neither one of them should have that opinion that I want them dead. Come on. How fucking absolutely animalistic are we?
Well,
How are we that bad?
we're turning into animals. This whole thing, the assassination of Charlie Kirk was a despicable act and a horrible thing to see. Even for us, I've investigated hundreds of death cases, hundreds. I've seen bodies in every way, shape, or form you can imagine, from unattended deaths to suicides to murders to sexual abuse cases. Watching that video, I watched it twice and I was like, yeah, I don't need to watch that ever again. When he died, and he's dying and you can see him go down.
Oh, it's almost instantaneous.
It's almost
Yeah.
instantaneous when he slumps
Sorry
over.
for the graphic
Yeah.
description for those of you that aren't needing to hear this, but unfortunately, it just kind of culminates this particular subject that we're talking about and kind of leads to, we kind of need to emphasize how horrific this was in order to get our point across. There's no other way to do it.
And the main point of this whole thing too being that it's not necessary. The violence is not necessary against to solidify your point. I'll post things on Facebook that are kind of critical of whoever, and then within a day or two I remove it because I always do that. Like if I post something, I'll remove it after a day or two because I don't want it to be left on my Facebook because I don't want to focus on the negative. What I like to do is focus on the positive. And you see through my Facebook posts, I try to make a lot of jokes and make people laugh at the craziness that's going on. I don't leave negative stuff on my post. And how you could want somebody to be murdered because of their political views, to me, is just absolutely absurd. Absurd.
Yeah. And for me, I don't post anything political. I troll out. That's very, I should rewind there. I try not to post anything political. If you look at, I only share family stuff. I have no problem sharing my opinion, but I know what it does and I know how it makes people feel. And unless we do something like this, where we bring up something that's specifically dialed into a subject that we wanted, I'm not sharing stuff like that because I only want to share, like what you said. My I only want to be a part of positivity, and it's very alarming how the you know the direction we're heading. And you brought up the phrase of a civil war, and it's man, it certainly feels like that is a direction where this country is going, and it's super fucking scary. Not only for me, for you, for your children, for our families, because it's you don't know, you just don't know.
Yeah. Well, I, you're kind of jumping way ahead in the framework there.
Yeah, I tend to do that. My bad.
Before we go down that road, let's discuss the Jimmy Kimmel component of
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
So everybody knows what happened, that he was let go by ABC, and it just goes to show one lie. What he said was a lie. Let's just face bare bones. Um, I'm gonna read the quote of what he said. So we hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. So Jimmy Kimmel has millions of viewers.
Mind you, this is a quote.
This is a
It's not.
direct quote of everything of what he said about the incident, and
Yep.
it was a manipulative lie. The person who is accused is not the person that he is describing. And the point I'm trying to make is that if you have millions of viewers and they listen to what you say, in that particular instance, they're going to believe what he's saying is true about the shooter, the murderer of Charlie Kirk. And that's how you shape the opinions of millions of people. So it comes up, I guess, the topic of Jimmy Kimmel is the discussion of free speech versus corporate responsibility. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I will say this again, piggybacking off of that statement and aligning with what you're saying. Not only does he have millions of viewers, but most of those million of his viewers already align with his thought process and his views and his beliefs. Otherwise, they wouldn't be his loyal viewers. So now to implant that thought process into their brain, now they're going to go 120% behind that. So ask that question again.
Agreed. No, you do support it. Free speech versus corporate responsibility to the mission of your investors and shareholders.
Yeah. Well, I'll comment on the free speech part. I hated what he said. I never really cared for him, but with that being said, he can say whatever he wants, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants him fired. That's up to the separate company themselves as an entity, whether they feel that they should fire them on their own free will. But free speech is free speech, whether you're Donald Trump, whether you're Tucker Carlson, whether you're Jay Sedita or Carm Goffredo, like I can say whatever I want, and you should be able to say what you want. Again, I'll go back by a Carmanism, good, bad, or indifferent, right? You can say what you want to say. So I don't think he should have been fired for what he said. I think we as a people should have stepped up and showed via the ratings, via boycotting Jimmy Kimmel, via different avenues that we didn't agree with what he said. And there's so many different ways that we can do that. You know, where does this system is set up for us as a people on a whole? We can make a difference doing it legally.
Yeah, I have two different opinions. I agree with the free speech part of it. Like if he were saying that on his own and he's being interviewed on the side of the street, that's your free speech, right? Like he can say but if he's working in the capacity of essentially a spokesperson for the corporation that he's working for, and those viewpoints that he expressed don't align with the values expressed in their mission and strategy, well, then they have the right to fire him, and they have the right, just like when I worked for my last employer, if I said something that was deemed to be inappropriate or whatever, racist or misogynistic or hateful, well, then the company, while I'm working, can ultimately terminate me for something that I may have said, which they didn't. I want to make that clear. I didn't get fired or anything like that. But in this particular case, Jimmy Kimmel ended up getting fired by ABC because of the viewpoints. and because of the false statements, the known lie that he made about the shooter. So there's some responsibility to be borne there. Do I think he should have been fired? I'm 50-50 about it. I don't know if I have a clear-cut opinion. I agree that his free speech should be his free speech, even if we don't agree with it. But he has a responsibility to the investors of that corporation to make sure that he's holding true to what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, sure, but you know what? That's for them to determine, not me. Like, I
Right.
can't make that decision. That has to be up to them. That's why I said if they deem that to be not where they feel like they're aligning, then yeah, chop him off the block because you don't agree with that. But like, I didn't. To be blatantly clear, I didn't agree with it.
Yeah,
I think he's a jackass.
Yep.
I think he's an idiot. I think he's a moron. Look at all the shit he used to do back in the day. Now all of a sudden he used to demoralize women on his live feed where he's making pretend like he's licking a young lady's ass while she's looking at the viewfinder. There's been a bunch of clips out what he used to do back the what was it used to call the girls
the man
boys
show
club or man show, right? I mean,
yeah.
And now all of a sudden he's a great guy. Whatever. I mean, that's it. But my opinion doesn't matter. It's just my specific. I'm not going to go and try to jam my opinion down 770 people's throats via Facebook or however many people will see my shit. And even here, so on the podcast, like I'm just going to say my opinion, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy situation where the polar forces on the left and the right are immediately going to war over this, not only the incident, but people like Jimmy Kimmel who kind of said what they said in a false light about it and trying to score political points for what they're saying I think that's really pretty despicable. You know, we know the murderer. We know the truth for the most part. I mean, the accused is the accused. Do we think he's guilty? You know, I don't know enough about it to truly determine it. I always say that people always ask for my opinion when I was still working for the state police. Oh, this high profile case. What do you think? And I'm like, I don't want to give you my opinion on it because I don't really know the truth. I'm not involved in the intricacies of the investigation.
Exactly.
I don't know the truth. I only hear what you're hearing on the news, and the news blatantly lies to you. They don't tell you the truth about things. So I was always uncomfortable giving my informed opinion about a murder case that was pending because I knew nothing about it. There are a lot of people who believe this kid wasn't the assassin too. I don't know what your thoughts are about
literally what was going to come out of my mouth. I just saw, it was on a podcast, that there's theories that this text thread that was going on between him and his transgender boyfriend, girlfriend,
partner,
partner, let's call him partner, thank you, was AI generated, and that there was the FBI or some federal agency may be involved with it. Like, there's so many theories. How do we know it's true? You know what I mean? So that goes back to your original comment, is that this is still an ongoing investigation. We don't know the intricacies of it. So for us to comment anything more than, we disagree with this and we think it's horrible. Obviously, it looks as if he's the assassin, but I mean, who knows nowadays? Who knows? We can do so many things in this country to pull the wool over whatever side's eyes we want to, or everybody's eyes.
Especially with AI stuff.
Exactly. Or incite a civil war.
Yeah. You know,
right?
going back to the Jimmy Kimmel thing before, I'm looking at the framework here too. I had put something in here about an old Johnny Carson interview from 1979. He's being interviewed on 60 Minutes by I think his name was Mike Wallace.
Yes.
Who, it's pretty wild. I grew up watching Johnny Carson. I grew up watching 60 Minutes with my parents, and now all those people are mostly gone and passed on. But Johnny Carson did this interview, and he said something to the effect of, it's not our place. It's not a late night TV show host's place to add political derisiveness, to add political fuel to stuff. It's our job to kind of joke around a little bit about and kind of just lightly hit off of major topics to make things light, airy, and fun. And we seem to have gotten to a place in society where all of our late night talk show hosts, all they do is get political, and it accomplishes nothing, and it makes them look like idiots. Honestly, it really does. I went to high school with Jimmy Fallon, and I don't agree with pretty much any of the things that he kind of gets into with some of his political stances. And,
Yeah.
I don't agree with any of these people. Just do the comedy and shut the F up already.
Let me see. Let me try something real quick. Let me see if we can get Johnny Carson. Can you hear it?
Never take a serious controversy. Well, I have an answer to that. I said, now, tell me the last time that Jack Benny, Red Skelton, any medium, use his show to do serious issues. That's not what I meant. Can't they see that? But why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer. People say, he'll never take a serious controversy.
So that's what Johnny Carson said. Man,
couldn't have said it
there's
any
a reason.
better.
Yeah, that was just perfect. Very, and that's why he had so many people that absolutely adored him. He was such a great TV host, comedy host,
And did you ever notice too?
late night show host, sorry.
Late night talk show host. You never really knew where Johnny Carson placed politically.
Yeah,
Everything he did
Right.
was funny and great. His interviews are great. You could kind of
Yeah.
get a little sense that he leaned a little bit to the left on certain things and a little bit to the right on certain things. But you never truly knew his political stance. He never made a divisive comment like Jimmy Kimmel did to
Right.
disparage, the accused in this murder case and try to paint him into something that he absolutely is not. So God bless Johnny Carson. I grew up watching Johnny Carson. I'm
Yeah.
old. But I loved it. And his last show, I always watched. And when my mom or dad would let me stay up late and watch Johnny Carson, I always loved to watch Johnny Carson because it was always good stuff. That's what these late night talk show hosts aren't doing now. They're feeding into this mania. Next topic. What do you think about the remembrance ceremony for Charlie Kirk? Did you watch it?
No, I didn't. My wife did. I did. I did your typical bits and pieces. For many reasons, I didn't watch it. One of them being as I know what's going to happen because of it, and it did happen. Everybody's all over the place with it. But few of the things that I caught in clips, one that stuck out, and I'll say is the most important, is how his wife is handled this situation and is continuing to try to handle this situation. I cannot believe she has the wherewithal to have such a clear thought process and passion for God. And I give her a shit ton of credit for being this strong. I'm sure it's not easy. That's the most important. Secondly, is the president on how he, what little I saw, I kind of, there, this is where I get uncomfortable, is because a lot of people will start wanting to take out their knives and stick it in me. I don't really care, but I didn't agree with a lot of what he said. He kind of said some things he should have, right? But in a very POTUS way, and then circled it back around to, I mean, you discussed this already, and we have similar thought processes, and I want your feedback from it too. But basically everything went full circle and coming back to making it about him. We were at a Charlie Kirk memorial, and after talking however many minutes, you bring it back and you start talking about your administration, what you're doing, what you're not doing. This is about somebody who's supposed to be your friend that passed away and gave you some great pull when you were politically running. So it should be about him, not you. That's my. It doesn't mean I hate him. It doesn't mean I don't believe in some of the choices he makes. I would say I'm somewhere in the vicinity of 60-40 or 50-50 with the current president, to be honest with you.
So I think that's an important distinction to make. Instead of simply honoring a slain husband and father and conservative activist, the president made it into a campaign rally, and I know we're going to piss off a lot of followers by saying what we're saying right now, but I was not a fan. He added some sincere moments to it at the end when he invited the widow back onto the stage, but he kind of made it into a political function. And listen, right, wrong, or indifferent, I think the the main function of a remembrance ceremony is to remember somebody and to not go off on tangents about how all of the great things that you're doing. And again, I'm like you. I agree with certain things he does. I disagree with other things that he's saying and doing. You know, I think the guy's a narcissist billionaire. I mean, anybody who can say that he's always been a narcissist billionaire and he's, do I agree with some of the things he's doing? Yes, but I don't agree with all of the things he's doing. And I think in this particular situation, I don't really think I wasn't a big fan of how he handled that. That said, Charlie Kirk himself, I wasn't a huge fan of Charlie Kirk. I'll be honest. I think some of the things he said had value and meaning, but I didn't agree with some of the political stances he had. I didn't agree with him. You know, I think he made a career out of having discussions with people, having arguments with people. But at the end of the day, even if he disagreed with those people, he did it in a peaceful way. He would get into arguments with people, and he was
respectful and peaceful.
Yeah.
Both.
A lot of people are calling him a racist, a misogynist, a homophobe. Those were his beliefs. Those were his religious beliefs. I can't say to somebody who has those religious beliefs, you know, X, Y, and Z, because that's their beliefs. Do I agree with what he was saying about certain things? No. You know, like I have a different political stance. I'm very much middle of the road with a lot. I'm very fiscally conservative, but somewhat socially a little bit different. But there's no happy medium anymore. It's either, I have a lot of friends. If you're not a fan of Trump, you're a fucking asshole. And I have some Democrat friends that think he's the biggest misogynist creep in the world. And, you know, there's no in the middle anymore about where you feel like you should be. And if you're in the middle, you're vilified. And I feel like I'm pretty vilified often in some political discussions that I have, because again, I'm not a big fan of Trump. I've said that many times before. I agree with a lot of what he's doing. I will say that, but
yeah.
You know?
I'm the same. I can't believe, and I think what's very interesting about the two of us is that I feel the same way, but I think our opinions, although our percentages, I think we're both in the middle, but we're in the middle on different things. So that's where I think we are unique. So I'm the same way with Charlie Kirk. I didn't agree with a lot of what he said, but then again, I agreed with quite a bit of what he said. So I would feel like I'm about the same, maybe 50-50, 60-40 on him. So, but again, that doesn't translate. He was always respectful. Sometimes he said some snide stuff, but who did listen to the people that he was talking to? You know, it was a back and forth. It wasn't one way. He was a very clever individual, just like Ben Shapiro. You know, Ben Shapiro is another one that's very he's very smart, very dialed into his mission, and I'm sure people have certain thoughts about him as well. You know,
guess what? Everybody has their opinion. You shouldn't be murdered for your opinion.
Yes. Yeah.
You shouldn't fucking be murdered for your opinion.
No one. And I'll go back to what we said in the beginning is that it boils down to people needing to feel a sense of alignment and wholeheartedness one way or the other, whether it's this Charlie Kirk situation or whether it's politically, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you have to hold on. Me personally, I don't need that. I can hover in the middle and have a varying opinion. And I don't care whether somebody says it has to be all Trump or somebody says they can't stand Trump. I can tell you why I'm in the middle on certain things.
Nothing in this world is black and white. Nothing.
No.
There's shades of gray to everything. You know, the old Dave Matthews song, Shades of Gray. There's always something in the middle and there's always a different opinion. And, you know, if you take the time to listen to the people you don't agree with, you might actually learn something. And it's scary times, man. Really, really scary to see what's happening. You know, we're so, you know, for the first responders out there, you know, who this podcast is designed for, you know, you could go down the rabbit hole of negativity and go to work and everything sucks and everybody sucks. And, you know, or you could choose to go to work to still try to influence positivity and change and do the right thing, you know.
Make a difference.
We have a choice. We have a choice right now as a society. We could continue to go down the corporate media fueled rabbit hole of disdain and hatred, or we could buck the fuck up and try to influence people's lives the right way and continue to do the right fucking thing. You know
what? And when it boils down to it, my suggestion, whether you're a first responder, whether you're an average Joe citizen, make your choices based on your beliefs, what you as an individual think about this situation that you're thinking about, not what you think other people are going to think about it, how you feel. Make
Yeah.
your collective choice yourself. And if it goes one way or the other, so be it. But you don't have to be so overly compassionate about every aspect of your life.
I know
Don't
we're
take it
going to
so
catch hell
serious.
for this podcast in certain respects from our conservative friends and from our liberal friends. I know that you and I are going to be in the gun barrel, so to speak. But you know what? It's my opinion. It's your opinion. And if you don't like it, well, then you don't have to listen to it, you know?
Yeah, I think we're definitely a minority. But then again, I think to be honest with you, I have a sneaky suspicion that there are some closet people that are aligned with us, and they just maybe have that obligation to feel like they have to align with a certain side, and maybe they're too, I don't want to say scared, but maybe they just don't feel comfortable coming out and saying, yeah, you know what, I kind of don't agree with everything Trump says either, because he does have some points that are I don't agree with. I remember real quick, during Trump's first administration, um, I went to a barbecue, and I saw a longtime individual who I was friends with, and we both knew in a nutshell where we stood politically. He assumed that I aligned very hardcore to the right based on the fact that I was obviously a police officer, and I knew based on him telling me that he was extremely far left.
Yeah.
And when I met him at this event, I said, "Hi, how you doing?" We had a conversation, and I said to him, "Please do me a favor. I do not want to talk anything about politics. I want to enjoy the time here and have a good time with the people, my friends, family, whoever's here." And there was no comment made. And less than 10 minutes later, there was a political conversation brought up to where everybody started jabbering back and forth. I proceeded to do the Rain Man, what is it, Michael Jackson,
The
the
moonwalk.
moonwalk. I got the fuck out. I literally left. I didn't say
Yeah.
anything to anybody. I left. I will have nothing to do with that. I don't want anything to do with that. I had a family member make a very harsh remark regarding the Charlie Kirk incident that popped up, I'm assuming inadvertently, on my Facebook. And it's like, man,
Yeah.
you really feel the need to make such a hatred comment? And I don't, listen, your opinion's your opinion, but it was very near, they don't mind that he's dead. And like, it just,
There's
okay.
a local business up here in Greene County. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to get sued. Who made a comment on Facebook, and some of the fans from Greene County will know exactly what I'm talking about. Made a comment about very, very distasteful comment about it, and I don't think it's going to bode well for them as a business person to do that. You know, that said, you know, like everybody has the right to say what they want to say. You know, you can be the
Sure.
biggest a-hole in the world. That's free speech. You know, it's the First Amendment right in our country, in our republic. Again, I wasn't really a total fan of this of Charlie Kirk, but he had some valid points with certain things. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I also got to mention I have friends that I a group that I hang out with, that I formed friendships with a couple of years ago, who I get the sense they're probably very different than me with certain things politically, but we're probably very similar with other things. Little jokes come up along the way, you know, like, "Oh, you're a Trump supporter." And I'm like, "I'm really not a Trump supporter," you know? And I think when you're a cop, people tend to categorize you as
Automatic.
automatically as the religious right. And it's not always a factual thing. And again, you know, you and I we agree and disagree with certain things that he says. But this group that I'm friends with, I love them to death because I've had so much fun with them over the past couple of years, getting to know them and having drinks and making great food and other stuff that their little comments are made, but we mostly avoid any political discussions, which I'm great with. I don't need to talk about that stuff
Yeah.
while I'm at a social function. But it's funny how people, I think, kind of automatically assume that
Yeah.
I'm a giant Trump supporter, and I'm really not. And based on predisposed notions of who you are based on your career, you know, it's pretty funny. And to my friends here locally who are watching the podcast in Greene County, who you know who I'm talking about. You, I love you, and I'm glad to be friends with you, even though I know we're very different with certain geopolitical stances on things. So
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so I wouldn't say I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm just not. I'm again. I'm not anti-Trump, and I'm not a Trump supporter. I support his good decisions, and I dislike his bad decisions.
you
Whether
just
it's
said it better.
personality,
What
yeah,
you
whether
said,
it's
I agree with that.
yeah, whether it's personality related or politically, right?
Yeah,
That's the way I can put it. I'm not anti. I'm not pro. I'm right down the middle. Whatever I want to believe, I believe. So
yeah.
that's where I stand on that. So wrapping up here
Well, we're
shortly.
not wrapping up yet.
Go. Oh, I like it. Good. I was gonna say something. God.
Two quick discussions.
Yep.
Do you think that there's going to be a civil war? And do you believe that this photo could bring about world peace?
Well, I can answer the second one very easily. The second one is absolutely. Second, without a doubt, that should be going viral. First of all,
Oh, it will.
I'm not saying for you to post. I'm just saying that should be a viral photo. Secondly, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
definitely if. How about this is the best way I can answer it. If we were ever at a point where this is probably the closest we're ever going to be. Oh, actually, I don't know because we don't know what's ahead of us, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. But right now, as we sit here, on what are we at? September 25th. I think currently this is the closest that we've ever been in my 50 years of existence.
Yeah.
And
we're
probably
not,
yours.
We're not making light of a very serious subject like that either.
No, that's not. I'm
by
not.
me showing the picture of you
Yeah. No.
in all your manliness, that's not to detract from the fact that we're headed down a trajectory as a nation that could get very dark if we keep going in that trajectory. And I keep going back to have a beer with your neighbor.
Yeah.
If you're not a drinker, have a club soda with your neighbor. Get to know the people around you. And I think I often said this during police work. I think most of us are more centric than we would probably believe. The social media out there and the news media really wants to divide this country. This country's still a great country. I think it's avoidable, but we have to get away from the typical rhetoric that we have. Hating somebody because they're a Republican or hating somebody because they're a Democrat.
Yeah.
I think just as scary as some of the progressive liberal things that are happening, there's some really scary progressive liberal things that are initiatives and laws that are changing that are very dangerous. I don't agree with them. But that said, we need to come to a place of neutrality and try to be a better country because it's very scary right now.
Yeah. Even, you kind of had to dial back and say sorry that you in one breath showed a picture of me to try to have some comedic value to the podcast and then in second breath you were bringing up a serious question. That's what our backbone is and should be as the NOFC podcast is kind of making light heart of stuff and a comedic value. That's one of the things we put in our descriptors. I believe we try to make it lighthearted and comedic. So you know what? We shouldn't have to apologize about that. It was nothing. We're doing what we want to do. We're not doing anything. I think we are collectively between the two of us extremely conservative on how we go about our views. You more so than me, but I know we have our reasons for doing that. So I don't think we're stepping outside any boundaries. I think we should, as a people, be able to laugh at certain things. Me making a fool of myself just to try to make you laugh because I know you've been in a lot of pain. You want to talk about your back? Let's talk about your back. No.
It's getting better.
For the
I'll be fine.
Viewers, for the viewers, this is the second time you need to go on at 53 minutes and 50 seconds after I ask Carm that question. Look at his face, and you'll know how his back is doing. He's in a fucking world of misery, and it sucks because I try to please tell me I'm a liar. I try to check in with Carm as often as I can, if not every day, at least once or twice a week, to say, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? How's the back doing? Because I went through this 2 to 3 times, and mine were maybe 2 or 3 weeks at the most. Carm
Yeah.
is now flirting with month 3 here with his back issues, and even more so, you were almost back to a full recovery, and then it went on you again, which God forbid that happens to me. My brain, I already know that's going to be a very difficult thing to handle. So I deeply apologize for you having to go through this. I only know a portion of what you're going through.
It's all good. It's getting better. I'm going to continue to believe it's getting better. I have, thank God for my family and loved ones who are in the medical field, and good friends who work in hospitals who led me in the right direction. My buddy Fred and his wife Katie, they were very good with stuff too. My son-in-law is a physical therapist, so he's been giving me some stuff to go by. I'm in physical therapy. I will say this: you can understand when you're dealing with chronic pain, chronic awful pain, you can understand how people who become addicted to opiates, you can understand how people get to that position, because the pain is so great that the only thing that they can do is search for the higher amount of pain reduction. I've luckily been able to deal with it with like NSAIDs and over the counter stuff, and I have a good support network. But you can understand how people get down that horrible rabbit hole of pain management and doing the deep dive there. So I'm good. Things are going to get better. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to feel better. I'm mobile, and I just knocked on my table, and now my dogs are barking. Which
That's
is
awesome.
great. Now things are good.
Good.
What else did I want to? I just wanted to actually. I was on a. You.
Me.
I'll ask
Me.
you off camera because I forgot what I was going to say, and I'll remember 5 minutes from now because that's when we.
Well, I'm gonna slowly wrap it up. So if you think, just cut me off. I met with financial advisor.
Yes, this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
I met with financial advisor last week, and then again last week, and then again this week. The financial advisor was recommended to me by a retired trooper. He is not law enforcement, but he deals a lot with law enforcement, and I really, really like him. I'm not going to share his name yet, but he agreed to come on the podcast. He's currently, well, that's a lie. Tomorrow, he's heading down to West Virginia for a week. So when he gets back, whether it be next episode or the one after that, I 100% want to get him on, because me and you talked about some of the stuff that he offered.
And I plan on contacting him too for the same purpose, for some wealth management stuff and investment.
And that'll be one thing I want him to do, is plug himself as far as what he's doing for his job, and I'm going to push him out there, because I want I told a few of the younger guys that are still working, like, even if you don't use him, reach out, because you can make your money grow. And so much, because me and you, like, we have this thought process that our money did really well for us, and it did in our minds. But after talking with him and where it could go, I'm like, son of a, like, there's so much more we could be doing. And that's where I should have been, but I'm not mad at that. I'll now learn from that. And he bases what he does, and I think I told you this, he bases your plan based off where you want to be and where you currently are. So I'm 50. He put a 12-year plan in order for me. And he just goes off of that. If my daughter talked to him, she's 23. So he said, we can do a 39. He's basing it off of when you think you may want to retire, either 62 or 67. Some people even work later than that. But just to give a nutshell on where you think you should be at when you want to, shut her down.
That's the single
work-wise.
greatest point I think to be made too, is that some of our younger viewers that are on here, whether you're in police, fire, EMS, take money out of your pay every single pay period and put it aside, put it in something, whether it's your deferred comp plan, whether it's an IRA, whether it's a Roth IRA, whether it's, put your money aside for that rainy day, because before you know it, that rainy day will hit. We're living that rainy day, literally and proverbially. proverbially. And it's reach out for some financial advice to people like this, the guy that we're going to have on, because I plan on utilizing his talents as well. So very good point. I was literally what I was trying to think. I'm glad you thought
Perfect.
of it.
Yeah,
So,
he's going to give everybody a bunch of different scenarios / options that he can and will offer, so that you're not stuck in like this cocoon where you don't think you have any other options. He literally, like, and I'll give the example when we go on of what I wanted to do, because I wanted to have some more free money to play around with if I wanted to, and he gave me like 5 different options, and it's so nice to know. And I'll give him the biggest perk. He had one of using this guy is going to have one of the biggest perks too, is because he offers some things that not many other financial advisors offer. So I'm excited to have him on. Hopefully by 26 or 27, he'll come on here. Go ahead.
what else? What else we got?
Nothing other than few orders this past week. I just got a patch came in today. I'll do a little reveal either tomorrow or Saturday on that. Just keep on sending your patches and your lucky coins in. Not your lucky coins, your what are they called? Why am I
Challenge coins?
Challenge coins. Jesus.
Challenge coins.
We are getting old. Challenge coins, patches. The guy from South Carolina that sent that packet. Jesus, that was a lot of stuff. I appreciate it, and it gives us some content to do in betweens as well.
It shows that we have a common thread. I wanted to just say too, I'm not as good as you are. I do some of the content development for the framework. Jay is more of the technical person. He reads a lot of more of the comments. I haven't been as involved in reading some of the comments lately just because of the nature of what I've been dealing with. But even if you hate us, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Tell us.
Tell me what do you hate about? Do you hate my beard? Do you hate my hat? Do you hate the fact that I took my shirt off for the picture that Carm showed? What do you hate? That I'm Mr. Perfect, as in the previous episode? Anyway.
I think you referred to your imaginary world as Jaytopia, right?
Jaytopia, yeah, that's me. But anyway, like you said, please share, like, comment, post, hate, put the angry emoji at what I said. Either way, whatever you want to do. We're still cooking here. Sorry for the delay, but we're still going. We hadn't hanging up yet. We're gonna try to get you guys as many episodes as we can before we retire. So all of our current and loyal followers that we currently have, let us not forget how important and valued you are to us. Absolutely. We deeply appreciate your support, and we're still getting comments and things sent to us via social media, and we much appreciate that. I and Carm both do.
We definitely do.
With that being said, we managed to squeeze an hour out of this one. Thank you guys for your time, and be safe and non-divided.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Peace out.